Well, I know why it's my favorite time of year. There's nothing like, even going to bed late, waking up early, and then catching a few of the games on TV, like the Baylor and game that I watched with North Carolina. I watched the end of that, and just a buzz around everywhere, and I think that's what college basketball has done, and I still get to be a part of it for another day. So it's kind of what you live for in this job, and we're excited to be here. We understand the task at hand, and yet we're looking forward to the challenge.
It's open for questions. Remember to state your name and your affiliation, starting right here with Detroit Free Press.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Tom, this is the sixth straight year you've played Duke, and I think the 11th time since 2010. How much on a short prep does that help you, and how much do they remain the same with changes in personnel?
Yeah, it's a little harder for us because they change personnel a little bit more. He's had more one and dones and things like that, and he does a great job of adjusting, keeping his system but adjusting, tweaking it a little bit. So I don't know if past performance. I watched a little bit of that game last year. I look at our team, I look at his team. I said, who are those guys? In both ways, either mine might have the same people but playing different, and his have some of the same people but playing a lot different, with their big guy. And so I don't know if that helps us much. I didn't realize I played him 6 times in a row. Who in the hell scheduled that?
Right here.
Matt Sharvin of Detroit News. Tom, obviously in the Davidson game, the defense, your defensive effort was so important in that and guarding that team. Now you, 2 days later, are going to come against a much different team, and about that quick turnaround and keeping that focus on that defensive effort. What's the challenge there for these guys? Not so much physically, but mentally being dialed into a different sort of approach.
Well, to be honest with you, we did do some different things against Davidson. We felt like we had to run them off all these DHOs, and they kind of used those dribble handoffs as ball screens, a little different. But the one good thing about our league now compared to how it was even 10 years ago or 5 years ago is there's so many new coaches, and you got Fred Hoiberg who does some stuff one way. Mike up at Penn State does things a different way. You still got the mainstays, of what Matt Painter does or Greg Gard. But, I think we have a variety of different things that helps prepare you for it. We played some good non-conference games, but I'm not sure anybody's going to. Banchero is an unbelievable player, but they got some other guys, that have been in the program that I think have gotten much better. And so you do go to 2 different styles, though. Maybe Davidson wasn't as athletic and driving the ball, and Duke is unbelievably athletic and got linebackers at guards, and they drive the ball with strength. And so there has been some things we've worked on last night a little bit, this morning a lot. Today we'll do a little bit more.
Aaron Beard with the AP. Tom, you were talking about longevity a couple days ago, and it's not something we don't think we're going to see as much in the future from coaches. I am curious, though, with the Hall of Famers meeting up, Mike Krzyzewski's last tournament, what do you think this y'all's matchup means to the sport, to have this type of moment when we may not see these types of moments with coaches that have been a long time successful at a program in the future?
That's a really good question that I respect. I said, you can be friends, but for 40 minutes you're not. But the game is bigger than normal. Not only is it, we've both had some success. They've had more than we have, but we both have some success. And but I look at, it's kind of hard for me to prepare, like everybody's saying, are you going to end his career on this note? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Well, first of all, I'm not going to do any of that. Some players hopefully will find a way to win, but just think what he's going through and what his players are going through emotionally. It's got to be an incredible, I can't even imagine, and both of us have to do what we tell our players every day, the double Ds, the dirt bags and distractions. Keep those 2 things away from us. And I think in general, the distractions of this, for me, the first time they gave us the pairings. It was Foster Lawyer, and deservingly so. And I think you saw how much respect we have for him and for Bob. And then if you win, you know, there's another home game against Duke, and a guy that I've respected and played since my, I think, second year of coaching. So we're all going to have to, you know, players will probably be a little easier. Coaches are going to have to keep the distractions away from themselves, and that could be harder for Mike. Looking at, you know, what he's done and coming to an end in the next 1, 2, or 3 weeks of an incredible career.
David Howe.
David Hale with ESPN. Mike was in here earlier and talking a little bit about some of the coaches who have played or worked for him and gone on, and he said, you know, I advise every coach, if you see something that you like, by all means take it, but be your own person. I'm curious, having known him as well and as long as you have, is there anything that you have taken from his coaching career and said, I think I should do it that way? And then in what ways are maybe the two of you guys most different as coaches?
You know, Mike has a much better TV. Like, I always thought Mike was really a calm. You know, he had the Duke button up. You know, I didn't know which bank he worked for, but I knew it was a bank. And then I played him the first time, and I looked down there and I said, "Wow." You know, sometimes he talks like a youper. You know, meaning I learned that about him, but I appreciate it about him too. You know, I think he's real, and I think what I learned most from him happened really early in my career at the Final Four in Florida, in Tampa, and I heard him talking about winning the weekend, and that has definitely been stolen. I've stole that, and I realized that Michigan State, you know, winning a game, and we started going on, you win the first game, let our staff help you win the second game, because the first game, you know, you get 4 days to prepare for it, but the second day you get one. And so I talked a lot about winning the weekend and actually prepare that way now. You know, we did prepare a little bit for Duke, you know, and sometimes it's harder. Normally I've been a little bit higher seed, and you figure you're going to get through the first game, although losing a 2-15 myself, I know what that's like. But I really believe that that and the consistency are the two things I've stolen from him. And what we're different, you know, I don't think that much. I think he coaches in warm weather. I coach in the snow.
Far right.
Tom, John Neal, Detroit News. I wonder, when you see some of your, I guess, contemporaries stepping away, whether it's Roy and now Mike and Lon Kruger, even Beeline to an extent, how does that make you feel?
Old.
Besides that, and does it make you, I don't know, reassess or take a longer look at how long do I want to do this, those kind of things?
Well, it's funny because I talked to John Beeline a little bit about it. I talked to Mark D'Antonio, who I got on my trip with us today, and a little bit. I talked to Mike a little bit about it, and Roy I've talked to a little bit about it. And, you know, I actually feel healthier and better now than I did 3-4 years ago. We went through a lot. But, you know, I would, when the day come where I started thinking about it on a serious note, I will reach out to guys. I'm lucky. I got some guys I can reach out to and talk to. You know, Gene Katie's been a guy I talked to a lot. And just the other day, Mike said, you know, when this is over, we'll sit down and talk. And I think that's the advantage you got when you respect some people in your profession. You know, talk to John Beeline about it. But right now, my players and our 600,000 living alums are stuck with me. And I plan on staying that way for a while. I still have some goals and dreams to achieve. But when it's time, I'll have some good guys to call. And I'm appreciative of that.
Right here in the middle of the plaid. And then after you, right behind him in the hat.
Stephen Brooks, 24/7 Sports. Tom, I was just wondering if you have any memories of your first game against Mike. It was December '98.
Yeah, we were in Chicago, and at the time, my, you know, 95, 96, 96, 97, it was December '98 or '97, which was it?
Did play him in '94 too, but '98.
Yeah, that was when I was an assistant back then. I I do remember playing him. Was it in Chicago? Grade 8, yeah. And we didn't get beat that bad. They were a good team, but that's when we were just growing our program. And I remember, you want to have a measuring stick. And, it was Charlie Bell, I think, earlier, Andre Hudson, one of those guys. I always said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I'm sure a million other people had that, but I heard it then, and it was kind of like we have an opportunity to play Duke and measure up. Well, we didn't measure up so good then, and there's a lot of times we haven't, but most of those games, other than my home games, have been very competitive. And I look at all the opportunities I have against. I played in every place now. I got to go to Butler this year. I value every one of them and think how lucky I am. And when you play some of the elite, like a Duke or a Kentucky, or you go to UCLA, or those are memory-making moments for the coach too. And so I don't know if I learned too much from them, but what I took away we got beat, and we had to get better, and we better get better players. And then we played them in the Final Four, I think, the next year, and got beat again. But in somewhat of a close game, and just kept learning. And, it hasn't been the smoothest. When you say a rivalry, we probably have played them more than a lot of teams other than their conference. But it's because I keep swinging, trying to, accomplish some things I want to accomplish on a regular basis instead of a once-in-a-while basis.
That.
Ryan Black with the Lansing State Journal. Tom, you mentioned earlier just how impressed you've been with how Coach K adjusts depending on its personnel, all kind of just the rotating roster seems to have year to year. So kind of a two-part question here. One, what impresses you the most about what he's done with this year's squad and how they're playing? And two, what do you feel like is the biggest thing you're going to need to take away from them to win this game tomorrow?
I've been impressed that I think he's taken his 2 or 3 freshman superstars, but he's got those guys that I really believe are valuable. He's got some juniors. He's finally got some juniors and even a senior that play a little bit, and a transfer who's a fifth-year guy, I believe. And so, he's been stuck so many times with just the young guys. And I think he's done a good job of balancing the two right now, and then adjusting to Banchero and what he can do, because he can beat you from a 3, he can beat you off the dribble, he can beat you in the post. He's a kind of a 3-dimensional player, and then fit those other shooters in. And I just think that he's got a little bit of veterans and a little bit of youth now, and that's probably better for Mike and better for his team.
Mike?
Tom, because of what happened in 2020, you got to sort of live with the 2019 Elite Eight victory a little longer than you might with some others. So I wondered if it's become, if it sort of became a little bit of a favorite for you, and maybe all the things you had to do to beat that team, stopping Zion, executing all those sort of stuff.
Well, what was the real question, Mike? I didn't hear the one. Just yell it. There were.
Did that become a favorite victory of yours?
Yeah. Yeah, it did sit there for 2 years, and that was kind of maybe the only good thing about COVID, come to think of it. But, I still don't look at, it's embarrassing to say that in a way, because what our program has done, you'd think we'd be better than we've been against them. And we've played them at home and had our worst beatings at home. But I still think that every time we play, there is respect amongst the program and definitely by the coaches. So I didn't go home and celebrate. I mean, I said, we beat them in a game that really mattered. When you're going to the Final Four, those games really matter. We beat him in Austin when the Sweet 16 game to go on to Kentucky. And those are memory-making moments because, that one was Duke and Kentucky in the same weekend. You know, that's way better than Christmas. And so this one in 19, you know, I really liked his team, and he had a good team, and you know, but we had a good team too, and Cassius was unbelievable, and Xavier, and we found a way to win it. And if you go home and celebrate that, kind of means you're not at the same level. Although when you're 3-12 or whatever we are, you're sort of not there yet. But I think we're constantly climbing that mountain.
Right here in the middle.
Nick Mantis, WLNS in Lansing. Coach, when you think about the amount of people down here who remember that 2019 win, when you guys came out into the floor, your team was relentlessly booed. And I asked the guys before what they thought of that, and they told them that it just added fuel to the fire, and Gabe said that he likes that and gets him energized. What did you personally think of that last night?
Well, I mean, we're down here in Davidson country, and I thought, you know, for a small school, I thought they had an unbelievable crowd. I mean, it was great. I mean, you know, I'm so happy to have human beings instead of cardboard heads that booing me, cheering me, yelling at me. It felt good, you know, just having human beings in the stands. But, you know, we're down here in Duke and Davidson country, and that makes the challenge bigger, but it makes it even better.
Detroit Free Press.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Tom, when you went to play at Duke last year, did you notice anything different from the guys having won that 2019 game versus some of the other teams that had, you know, not beaten Duke? Was there a different kind of confidence in them the second time?
You know, I don't know if I noticed it. It was such a bizarre year, Chris, that, you know, everybody was just in survival mode. But I'll bet you inwardly, I mean, you know, when you do something that you haven't done very often, you definitely get some confidence in it. And maybe it helped a little bit, you know, but both our teams were different teams at the time, and they were struggling a little bit. We were trying to find ourselves, and there was nobody in the stands, no Cameron Crazies. So I don't know. That'd be a good question for the players. As a coach, I was just worried about trying to win a game, and I didn't really know where their confidence level was. I was trying to learn my own team a little bit.
Final question here, and then we have one Zoom question.
Tom, Ian O'Connor from the New York Post. You've talked about Mike's consistency year after year and how that's impressed you over time. I know you want to prevent this from happening, but he has a chance tomorrow for his 1,200th victory. I'm just curious, is that just given how hard it is to win at this level, is that a staggering number to you?
Yeah, I've often said, you know, he's got more wins than I got practices under my belt, you know, and but I think I was there when he broke Knight's record. That was in Madison Square Garden, so maybe the NCAA decides I'm the sacrificial lamb or something. I don't know, but I'm not. Like I said, I'll pull for Mike Krzyzewski every game, but I guess one in the last 6 years. You know, I gotta pull for us, and I got to do a better job than I've done over the years, and my players got to play better. That's the most important thing. But getting 1,200 wins or 1,199 wins is just unbelievable. You know, you talk about consistency. You talk about guys staying with the same program. You talk about how long guys are going to coach. Man, if that record's broken, and I know they're all meant to be broken, but someone's going to have to start right out of the womb to break that record, I think, in the future.
All right, Patrick, you got your time on Zoom?
Hey, Coach. Patrick Warren from the MBS Sports Hour. Obviously, the game is here. You have to play whoever's in front of you, but just because of the stakes or because of the history and K's potentially last game, is there a part of you that wishes this was later, like the Final Four or national championship, or would you prefer to have it now?
Oh no, I'd like it to be the championship game, man. Not all for Coach K though. That means we're there. So I would like it to be there, and there's like I said, there's going to be weird emotions on both sides of the scorers table. I can't even imagine what it's been like for Mike. I saw Mickey the other day, yesterday or day before here, and I just can't imagine when you've done something that long at the same place. The emotions of that. But I remember when we beat John Chaney to go to the Final Four in Atlanta. Was that in '01, I think? I went down and I had so much. I mean, he's the guy that got me convinced that I should schedule the World every year. And, I felt great. We're going to a third Final Four in a row, but I did feel strange in looking at John and thinking, guys like him and Gene Cady had never been to one, or I didn't think at the time. And so there'll always be that. That's part of life. But for 40 minutes, I'll bet you Mike wants to beat the hell out of me, and I'll bet you I want to beat the hell out of him. And what happens after, only time will tell.